Hey there, it's me again. Time for math. And for our joke today, I'm just gonna flip open. Let's see what we get. All right. Oh, this is a cool one. Who made King Arthur's round table? Who made King Arthur's round table? Remember the circles? Pi, we learned how to find the circumference of a circle. So sir, get it, like the knights were called sir, circumference. And one more. Let's see. How was the Roman Empire cut in half? With a pair of Caesars. Caesars, Roman Empire, Caesars. So just gotta always start with a joke. Okay, so the truth is that only one of you have turned your quiz into me. So I don't know what's going on with everyone else. Hopefully you've been watching these videos and staying caught up with your math. But if you have not yet turned your quiz into me, please do so. All right, so before we get into our objective for today, which is to round decimals to the nearest whole number, I just wanted to review the rules for rounding numbers in general. So the first thing you're going to do is look at the place that you're going to round. So for this one, we're going to round to the nearest thousand. So we would underline this digit. Then we look to the right, and this is the determining factor. This is the determining digit for our rounding. And then remember these clues. So 4 or less. If this number is 4 or less, this number will rest. So we say 4 or less, let it rest, which means this number stays the same. However, if it is greater than 5 or more, let it soar and the digit would go up 1. So for example, right here, 6 is 5 or more, so this number would go up. So the 2 becomes a 3, everything else becomes zeros, everything to the left stays the same. So let's look at a couple of these, all right, and do them. And again, we're just rounding whole numbers. So we're going to round this to the nearest 10. So we're going to underline our digit, and this is our determining number. Because this is a 6, 5 or more, let it soar. My 7 is going to soar. It's going to become 8. Everything to the left stays the same. Everything to the right becomes a 0. So 576 would round to 580. All right, let's look at this one. Underline our 7, and 2 is our determining digit. 4 or less, let it rest. So 2 is 4 or less, so this will rest. It stays as 7. Everything to the left stays the same, and everything to the right becomes a 0. So we were rounding to the nearest 10. Let's look at rounding to the nearest 100. So this time I'm going to underline my hundreds place. Here's my determining digit. 5 or more, let it soar. So 7 becomes 8. Everything becomes a 0. Okay? 4 or less, let it rest. 7 will rest. It will stay a 7, and everything becomes a 0. So that was just rounding review for you. So what we're looking at today is rounding decimals to the nearest whole numbers. So look in your textbook at page number 25. Go ahead and take that out. Page number 25. And it shows a hill, a picture of a hill. And it says the height of this hill is 164.3 meters. So we want to know if that 164.3 is closer to 164. Notice that's a whole number, or 165. So if we look at that, and again, you can look at that 3, that kind of means let it rest, or it's going to be the lower one. So the answer would be 164. 164.3 is closer to 164 than it is to 165. And you can see that on the number line. Here's 164, here's 165. Right in the middle is 164.5. 164.3 is closer to 164, so it rounds to 164. So let's look at some more of these. Let's look at page number 26. And it shows, here it says, John weighs 37.4 kilograms. Round off his weight to the nearest kilogram. So we're rounding it to a whole number. So we can look here and see that 37.4 is closer to 37. So if we were using our rounding rules that we just reviewed, 4 is going to let it rest. It's going to stay at 37. If this is a 5 or more, it's going to go to 38. All right, number 2, it says a tree is 5.78 meters tall. Round off its height to the nearest meter. So here we go. 5 and 6 are our whole numbers. 5.78 is much closer to 6. 7, we would round up. So it's much closer to 6. So that would round to the whole number 6. Number 3, round off 24.5 to the nearest whole number. Now this one's right in the middle. So you're going to say, whoa, it's right in the middle. What do I do? Remember the rounding rule. 5 or more, let it soar. So 24.5 rounds to 25. All right, next page, section number 4, and this is letter A through F. So let's work these. It says just round them to the nearest whole number. So 4.2, I look here, 2, 4 or less, let it rest. So 4.2 becomes just 4. 13.9, 5 or more, let it soar. So 13 would become 14. Again, what is the nearest whole number? 29.5, let's look at that. 5 or more, let it soar. So 29 goes up 1, becomes 30. 5.45, again, we're rounding to the nearest whole number. So we're going to look here, and we always look to the digit right next to it. That's the determining digit. So we have a 4. 4 or less, let it rest. So 5 stays the same. It rests at 5. 15.64, we have a 6 as our determining digit. 5 or more, let it soar. So 15 becomes 16. 18.52, here is our determining digit. So 5 or more, let it soar. 18 becomes 19. And again, it's closer to 19 than it is to 18, if you were to think of these as being on your number line. All right, next section. And it says here, the length of a string is 3.18 meters long, rounded off to the nearest meter. So looking right here, 3.18, would that be closer to 3 or closer to 4 on the number line? And that, as you can see, is closer to 3. So it would round to 3. Section B says round it off to 1 decimal place. So here's 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places. We're going to be rounding all of these to 1 decimal place. So I'm going to look to the right. This is an 8. 5 or more, let it soar. So this becomes 2. 3.2. It goes up 1. And now we've rounded it to 1 decimal place. We're dropping that one off. And we're going to do the same thing for this section here. So rounding it to 1 decimal place. 4.2, this is a 6. So this would become a 3. 4.3. This is a 2. So that would stay a 3. 4.3. Here we have a 5 is our determining digit, so this would go up 1, so it becomes 4.4. All right, last section, and we are rounding it out to, let's see what it says, to 1 decimal place. So 1 decimal place, we're going to look here. All right, that's a 1. 4 less, let it rest, so that stays a 9.9. All right, to 1 decimal place. So we're going to look here. 5 or more, let it soar. So this becomes a 5. 2.5. All right, this is an 8. 5 or more, let it soar. So 0 becomes a 1. 7.1. 10.96. This one's going to be a little tricky. 6, 5 or more, let it soar. So this becomes 10. Now, if I have 10, if 9 becomes a 10, that means I have a whole. So I'm going to bump that over here, and this actually becomes 11 point, or just 11, because I had a whole. So I'm bringing that over and adding it with this whole. 10 and 1 more whole equals 11. All right, this one here. So we are looking here. This is a 1, 4 or less, so that's going to rest. So that just stays a 0. So we just have 18. 18 or 18 point. Anytime you have a decimal at the end, you can just take it off. 18 and 18 point are the same. 11, 11 point are the same. All right, last one. 0.5. So 5 or more, let it soar. So that will go up 1. 24.6. And that is all for today, folks. I hope you are doing well, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.